can't post on where?
I can't share the. Oh, it's Facebook. Face
Oh,
bag.
Facebook.
Yeah.
Face bag.
All right. So let me go ahead and kick us here. This is gonna be a new experiment. Let me try this. If I can get it. 1, 2, 3.
Todd and Rob in the afternoon.
Afternoon delight.
With Todd and Rob. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Here we are. Welcome to the New Media Show, and we're off to a great start. It's been, as I was saying earlier to you, Rob, I feel like I'm going to run around with a chicken with my head cut off, but that usually doesn't last too long with chickens. They usually fall over and...
It's true, and it's an ugly sound.
Yes. And by the way, you missed the chaos the other day.
I guess I did. No, I heard about it later. The service came back and everything was all good again, supposedly.
Yeah, everyone gets their time in the firing line, and I was telling my team this morning, I said, just to let it officially be known, if we were down for 5 hours, I would have had a coronary.
Yeah, right.
I would have flat out had a coronary, and I just it just happens. Things happen, You do something, and it just it doesn't go as planned, and things go sideways.
Well, that's exactly why you say that you only guarantee 99.9% uptime.
Well, I think you used up your time.
I think so. I think we're out of opportunity now for failure, right? Yeah.
I have I internally I have a number for our stats redirect, and it's really, really high. It's not just 2 9s or 3 9s. It's a high, and I said, how long has it been since we tested just pulling the plug on one of those servers to make sure this thing flips over, make sure that how long has it been since we checked the failsafe? And I kind of got that look, and I was like, okay, next week we're going to run a controlled test.
That's a good idea. It's a good idea. Test your failsafe.
Yeah, because it's one of those things that, I have basically made a standard. Blueberry.com can go down. We can lose the interface and we can lose the login. That type of thing can happen. The directory can kind of have a hiccup, but the stats and the media server, it's like one of those things. I said, okay, so what happens if our CDN goes down? Tell me how long again it takes us to flip to the backup. Is it 15 minutes? Is it automated? Does someone have to click a button? Right. It's all those things, right? So so it your chaos is my opportunity to remind my team that right. It's everyone's going to have their turn. It's just a matter of when. But anyway,
and are you prepared to handle it as fast as possible? And that's
right, because
that's the test.
You guys got it during working hours. I'm saying, we have a call list, and I said, so do you have your ringer turned on at 2:00 in the morning? So when I call you, it actually rings, and you can be woken up, and that's where I get the look. So. Yeah, we're going to talk about it next week. But my team is actually going to be together next week. We're going to be, all of us are going to be in Columbus Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Wow. Okay.
So a great migration. People are flying in from all over the country. So I'm really excited. We've got 3 full days of activities and a fun day on Friday planned. So yeah, it's going to be good. Hey, one thing I want to do before we get started here, get too deep into the content, because we do have some content to talk about today. I want to make a disclaimer because I saw a tweet. If you unfollow this show because we are promoting crypto, let me just say that we're not promoting crypto investment.
No, that's right. Yeah.
We're not promoting crypto investment.
We're not promoting crypto really much at all, I don't think.
Well, crypto investment is just like stocks. You can lose money on stocks just as easy as you can lose money in crypto, probably easier. And I'm not a financial person, but you can lose every penny you put in. Just remember that. what we're
That can happen in pretty much any investment.
anything.
Actually.
I've
Except
had
for maybe bonds, but who knows?
right. I've had some stocks that have went completely sideways. That I'm like, ugh, you know.
What
So
was I thinking?
yeah, you know, and like, you know, so you just, you know, what do you do? That's like same thing as flushing money down a toilet.
No.
But what we're talking about when you support this show with a boost is a donation. What
Yeah.
we do with the crypto after we get it is our choice. We're not using it as an investment vehicle. Matter of fact, most of the sats that have been donated to the show, I've been donating right back out of the show. So it is a an ecosphere. And yes, at some point, we hope that we get enough sats coming into the show from Boost. And for those of you that listen to the show on Fountain or any other Podcast 2.0 apps, you're earning sats right now, and you're able to, you know, send some of those back if you want. But we did get some boost.
Yeah, that's great.
We did. So actually, we got 2 from Adam Curry, and it was the same message. So Adam, thanks for hitting the button twice. So we got 10,000 sats. He says, kicking ass with Tuesday's Boostgram. And then he says the same exact thing in another boost. So I was like, okay, thanks for the 20,000. And then Dave Jones sent us 1,000. He says, great show, guys. I hope Spotify kills the Anchor brand and saves me trouble of indexing and pulling about 2 million garbage feeds. You know, with Spotify knocking stuff off right now, like, yeah, you know, there's in it not making any money.
It does make you wonder.
We'll see,
doesn't it?
right?
Yeah.
And we got one from James Cridlin. Says, awesome to hear you reading Boostgrams. I'll go send some to Pod News and Podline. We may have read that already. He sent 1,001 sats. And I did. I sent 1,000 sats to Pod News. I sent 1,000 sats to Podland. And I sent 50,000 sats to the folks over at the Podcast 2.0 podcast. So we've done a little horse trading.
Well, in a lot of ways, I would just look at it mainly from the perspective, and I mean, not even crypto. It's like a rewards exchange program.
Right.
You know, it's almost like a currency of thumbs up. You know.
So I've been encouraging my team to listen
Right.
to the board meeting, which is the Podcast 2.0 podcast, and we had a demo day today, and I asked how many and a couple of folks had said, yep, I'm listening now after I've kicked them in the butt a little bit. And I said, what did you think? And everyone said long, because it is 2 hours. But the key thing that came out of that, and I shouldn't even tell this, because they said there's gems sprinkled throughout that podcast. Gems. And I call them diamonds in the rough. There are diamonds that are rough cut coming out of the quarry that makes you go, So
Well, there's a lot of things that Adam Curry has pioneered, right?
Right.
And done even with his own show, the No Agenda show, that pushed the envelope of how a podcaster can build audience and hold on to them.
right. Now, so many of you will think, oh, God, how come we keep talking about this value for value podcast 2.0? How come you keep talking about it? If you're not listening to what's going on over there, you're missing out.
Well, and Todd, this is a little bit of a counterpoint to what Michael Mignano from formerly from Anchor was raising the point, is that there's no innovation, you know.
Right.
I think that there is innovation coming out of it. It's just that certain parts of the industry don't want to pay attention to the innovation that's happening in the industry. So because it's not in their best interest to do so.
And if you look at a certain, and you know, we give fair, you know, we talk about other other podcasts on RSS.com, just integrated with Albi, so that now a RSS 2.0 podcaster can basically immediately be within this platform and be able to do what we have just done here and talking about getting boost from people that listen to the show. So, Rob, I switched podcast apps on Saturday. And I went over and grabbed the Fountain podcast app.
Yeah, I have the app on my phone too. Yeah.
So I'm all in. I am going to use the Fountain podcast app now exclusively. I'm testing some other ones, but if I'm going to walk the walk, I better talk the talk. And it's just like I've done a lot of things in podcasting for my personal show. And at some point, we are going to work very hard to have this show. There's a few things that we're working on to get this show to be able. So at Podcast Movement, if we are able to stream this show in the way I kind of hoping we will be able to, that we're going to be able to basically send that bat signal out saying, hey, we're lit, we're live. I don't know if it'll happen at Podcast Movement because of the infrastructure and how we're going to be streaming on Dan's platform.
Right. Yeah, I don't know all the details.
Yeah, I don't know all the details. Yeah. But if we're able at least to bring these streams up, we're going to try to be ready for that. Again, I'm going to say try because there's some, a couple little hurdles I have to overcome. And most of the folks that are doing the live stuff are doing it via audio. They're doing audio streams. And which is okay. They're streaming audio just like people have since God was a child, but the ability to send you to something, I don't know if it's going to be YouTube or Facebook or how we're going to do that. That's still, I've been chatting in the group on how to make that happen. But anyway, and if you're in this industry and you're complaining about things not moving,
yeah, it's moving like lightning speed.
It's your fault,
right? Yeah,
and I'm just as responsible, and it's just like anything else. At Blueberry, we have a development schedule and goals and stuff in our development pipeline. And, so I'm going to take there's going to be a heavy look at that next week to see where we can start fitting some stuff in. Yeah. So I guess we'll see. And I got to drink the Kool-Aid here as much as I can because I think we need to start pushing the envelope and pushing the curveball on this. And again, it's almost like I can't dictate to my team to listen to podcasts, unless I pay them for that time while they're at work. Yeah. If I tell them, okay, every Monday you're going to spend 2 hours listening to, I don't think I want them doing that. But I hope voluntarily they'll listen to it in the car, So I'm strongly suggesting my team listen to that show. Again, I told them if you want to fast forward through the value for value segment, do that. But there's some value in listening to that too, because there's lots of stuff that comes in from the community. It's where they give feedback. It's just where Dave just gave feedback from the show. Here, we're getting more feedback for this podcast via than any email that we've ever got.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's the real magic sauce of this is building community.
Yep.
And holding on to that community. That's what a rewards program is supposed to do,
right?
It's
right.
supposed to build loyalty.
Yeah.
That's why they also call it a loyalty program.
Well, but again, I don't want to call it a loyalty program. I want to keep the terminology.
That's not what it is.
It's value for value is what it is.
But to help people understand of the idea behind it and how it kind of functions as a social mechanism.
But at the same point, I'm, as much as I love everything that's going on with Podcast 2.0, I also have to think about, okay, what does an 18 to 40-year-old have in their pocket today that they can instantly support a show? I would say probably 50-50 folks 18 to 40 either have Venmo or Cash App.
Yep.
Probably 50% or more has PayPal.
Yeah.
Right?
Though that's probably declining.
50% probably have Apple Pay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's growing.
So how can we also, the crypto and getting Satoshis is cool. Don't get me wrong. I like that a lot. But how can I also, and again, now the reason that this is not, in my opinion, being addressed, and maybe I'm wrong, and I'll get corrected in a show on Friday on this if I'm wrong, but the reason is a portion of the contributions that come in, a percentage that goes to the Podcast 2.0, supporting Podcast 2.0 initiative, a percentage, at least of mine, goes back to Andy Lehman on his plugin that he's developed that works with PowerPress. So a portion of this, and if you're making a contribution through Fountain, a portion, now if you donate 1,000 Satoshi, it's actually more because they add, like, you are supporting the apps too. So this is where everyone gets a cut of money. Whereas if someone's going to Cash App us or Venmo us or PayPal us, the developers don't get any money. Podcast 2.0 doesn't get any money, so there's no support for the ecosystem. So if we can figure out a way to have greenbacks be contributed to the support mechanism of everyone else, I think that would be something worth exploring. Because let's be honest, you look at Marco and other people like that, they got to eat.
Yeah, that's right. I agree with you.
They got to eat, and it's the Fountain, Curiocaster, all these folks. They got to eat.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the shortcomings that the medium has had, is that there's not a lot of rewards for the endpoint listening platforms.
Now, someone just sent us 111 sats, says trying a boost. Now, user that just sent that, go in and set in your settings in Fountain, put your name in the settings, because all I see is user number 647502, this big long number. So set your username, and then when you send a boost the next time, the 111, it'll actually say your name on there.
Yeah. Hey, Todd, do you know the CEO or the founder of Fountain?
I don't, but we should have, I can get his info. We should have him on the show.
Yeah.
And Curiocaster, there's a whole plethora of folks that are doing cool things that we could spend a lot of time. And I don't want to repeat what Dave and Adam are doing, but we reach a little bit of a different audience than they do. That they're definitely reaching podcasters and more technical folks. And again, I don't know. I'm sure the show is pretty widely listened to at this point, but maybe there's nothing that hurts going to have some of these folks on and talk to them.
Yeah, I don't believe that Adam's show is in Apple Podcasts, though.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
so,
I didn't think it was.
But it's
I went and looked for it over there, and I didn't see it.
Hey, just go grab the RSS feed and subscribe. Come on now.
I know. I was just seeing if he was distributing it.
No, he's it's like, I don't want to say, but it's like double barrel to the man. They don't want to be in those platforms.
I get it. Yeah, that makes sense.
So anyway, I'm a little bit catching the fever.
Yeah,
a tad.
Well, I think we can both see some of the social benefits of getting involved in this. Plus, if it creates deeper connections to listeners, I think we should be all over it.
This is a creator first venture. And by the way, Dave, no, I don't want you to form a big, huge committee. I don't remember saying that, and having meetings. I think the model is the way you've got it set up right now works. A lot of independents doing cool stuff. Because, they talked about the IAB document that I was involved with as well on the show. And that was a lot of meetings.
Yeah.
A lot of meetings. And where this is, you can get tied up in bureaucracy. And
yeah, but there's nothing wrong with getting people together to talk about issues, and I think that's kind of what that was.
Well, I think
that's how we came up with the IAB guidelines, was getting people together.
Yeah, right? I know, but I think at the same point, some people are not, that's a limited players club too, because of
Well,
the
yeah,
membership.
You have to
be a membership.
To be involved, right?
And this is not. It's truly an open project, and anyone can do what they want. They can make suggestions. I think that's the key here. And at some point, someone's going to try to manipulate. But guess what? It ain't going to happen because they can't. They can't. It's not. As soon as the money figures out that there's advancements being made here, but the problem is they're not going to be able to come in and wield a stick at all. That's why a lot of commercial companies are not going to involve with this, because they can't steer this.
Well, they can't control it.
They can't control it, right?
Right. They can participate,
right?
But that may not be enough,
right? Well, and I think what it is the creators, once they get a taste of some of this, again, it's not for everyone.
No, it's not, but it could be.
Oh, that's weird. I got another 111 sats, and it's still from the username. I didn't get the name here. So let me go over and find the Fountain app, and I'll tell you where to go change that. Okay. You go to profile, and then you go, let's see here, edit profile, and then you change you put your name, your email address, and your name. And I'm pretty sure that you can change your @name. So change your @name to so maybe I was wrong. Maybe I fed you the wrong information. I'm sorry. So on the username, put @ and then your first and last, or however you want to put it. And that should show up then in the boost. So my apologies for wasting your 20 cents or whatever you sent. So appreciate it. And again, I don't have the math on what the value is, but I just think that there's something here we can move forward on. But here we've talked 25 minutes on this already. So
yeah. Well, the last couple of episodes we spent quite a bit talking about it. So,
but Rob, did you know that in 1991? 1991.
Oh, that's right. I did see your
1991. I was running a bulletin board on FidoNet. I was in Guam, and I was sending audio messages through a subscribed channel that I could send back to my family, and they could reply on, and I went and invoked $3.50 a minute. So I was sending an audio program through a channel via FidoNet, via a bulletin board. Took 2 or 3 days to get there, and then 2 or 3 days for them to respond. But guess what? I was the first podcaster because I had a channel. You could subscribe to it, and you could listen to it.
Was that a downloadable MP3 file, Todd?
Be honest with you, I don't think it was MP3. I think it was, I don't know what it was at the time.
Back in those days, exchanging MP3 files was not very common by any means.
So it was something, some audio file format.
Right.
So, but I was doing it in 91. So I am the first podcaster.
Right. Yeah. James kind of opened a Pandora's box on this one a little bit. But I mean, I do like the way he's thinking about it to some degree, but I think it is kind of somewhat applying principles that we think about podcasting today to the past.
Right.
I think if you were in the past, I think this distinction is clear. But if you're in the present, in the kind of more open perception of what a podcast is now, I think you can think that maybe what was going on back there was a podcast. So I think,
they didn't think of it as a podcast until this year.
Right. And that's my point, is that things have changed, right, in people's perception of what a podcast is. So now it's more acceptable to think that, what was going on back then was a podcast.
If someone in 2005 had said that Audible was the first creators of podcasts, they would have been crucified.
Oh yeah, Audible.
There would have been blood in the streets.
Audible was wanting to be a part of podcasting.
Wanting to be.
Big time back in those days.
Wanting to be.
Right. They were doing everything.
They dreamed to be.
and none of it worked.
That's right. And they quit.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So now for
So-
them to say, God rest his soul, Robin Williams was the first podcaster.
Well,
It isn't working for me.
yeah, I've always seen Audible and a few other platforms in that time frame that were precursors to
Right.
podcasting. I've always seen that. There's actually a Wikipedia page that talks about this. These platforms like Sync and Go and Replay Radio and Audible,
And don't
which
forget-
was a very early kind of audio distribution platform to MP3 players, but there were tons of other MP3 players
Right.
that came out right after that.
Right.
So
And don't
so
forget my FidoNet delivery of audio file.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Sync and Go basically took audio and video files and synchronized them to Pocket PC devices, which you can construe to be like a portable media player. Had a screen and a storage drive.
But just
and-
because
yeah.
you could subscribe and listen to a program
It doesn't make it
before
a podcast.
didn't make it a podcast.
Right, exactly. And I still believe that. I still, regardless of what the talk is that's been happening around this,
Let's
it is
make
clearly not a podcast.
let's make a clear line. If we want to, there's a technical standard,
Right,
and then there is a perceived standard.
right. Which is the perceived standard is where we are now
Right.
in the future. But back then, it was the lines were very clear.
Hey Rob, can you apply for to have your podcast be part of the podcast awards without an RSS feed?
No.
No.
Though I'm sure you're under extreme pressure to open that up to even TikTok now.
I have gotten emails from Audible and others.
Right.
Can we submit our shows? I says, if you have a subscribable RSS feed with a if you have again a subscribable RSS feed, absolutely.
Right. And they go,
Oh,
no.
well, it's a podcast. Well, it probably because I'm old school. And again, for the listeners, you guys don't care.
No, they don't.
They
And
don't.
That's what's frustrating about this for me.
Yeah,
It's okay that this is in the past. Let's
That's
just
right.
leave it in the
Yeah,
past.
let's leave it in
we
the
don't have
past.
to drag the present into the past now. So let's just kind of move on. Podcasting started with Adam Curry and Dave Weiner and that time frame, and that's kind of where it started. And let's just hold on to that.
And if someone goes in and edits a Wikipedia page, it's going to be a travesty.
right, yeah.
I know, James, you're just a little bit trolling here with some of your
Well, I mean, I think,
a little
he's
trolling.
doing his job.
He's just
right.
trolling a little bit, and
Yeah. But he's got us
so
talking
Don't
about
eat
it,
me,
doesn't he?
James
So,
Cridland.
right.
so he's doing a little trolling. It's okay,
It is okay, actually.
But if you want to put a modern definition, first of all, it shouldn't be called a podcast until it was a podcast. If you didn't call it a podcast, it wasn't a podcast.
Well, even Adam and Dave were promoting a podcast or the podcast technology before it was even called a podcast.
Right.
So, so you have even that going on here as well.
But
So
and if you want to go ahead then and set a precedence that we're going to use modern day, we can probably go back to the beginning of the internet.
right,
When we have these, it was called, is it IRC? No. It was where people were stealing, where they were sharing porn and audio. It was, what was it called? Oh my!
so Todd, how do we know that DARPA wasn't the first one to do that?
Well, there was. Here's the thing: you could subscribe to
Right.
what was it called? Someone's got to help me here in the chat. Oh man,
Give me a clue and maybe I can help.
yeah, it was like way early in the internet, and there was all kinds of channels that you could subscribe to, and they had everything. They had ISOs, movie ISOs in them, radio ISO. I mean, audio. It was really where the hackers lived.
Oh, are you
to-
talking about BitTorrent by chance?
No, not BitTorrent. Before
okay.
BitTorrent, they were. Oh my God! Someone's
Well,
going
that's
to
a
help me.
whole nother discussion is BitTorrent. Right?
Yeah,
Because-
and it wasn't IRC. It was something else. It'll come to me, and someone's going to help us. But anyway, there was porn on there. There was movies. There was audio files. There was software, mostly software. People were stealing software, so they were hacking it and then chopping it up into pieces, and you would download it, and then you could reassemble the software back together into one piece. And there was automated software to go out and pull that stuff in.
Mhm.
So technically, in the modern internet, that was probably truly, well, it was just media delivery. So, and
Yeah.
you subscribed to a channel and you got what it was, but there was everything imaginable that was in those channels. I can't believe I'm having a senior moment and can't remember what it's called, but anyway, someone will tell me. And it wasn't BitTorrent; it was way before that.
I think it was IRC, wasn't it?
I think, I won't say that I ever run any pirated software, but, I don't think I had a budget, and there was something I wanted one time and tried, and it had a virus and it ended up destroying my computer. So, I got what I paid for.
Right.
Oh man, I can't remember what someone's yelling at the top of their lungs right now that's listening to the show.
Well, I hope so.
But anyway, even before that, then was what I referred to was the ability how we did communications before the modern internet came in. It was FidoNet. We were transferring messaging and files and media via Fido, and basically we were sending packets.
Yeah, and a lot of people may not realize, but the internet existed before the web did.
Right.
So a lot of people confuse the web as the internet when it's really not.
Yeah.
So it's two separate protocols, two separate things.
But
email is the internet.
Yeah, but
Web pages is something different.
But at the same time, FidoNet did not even run in the early days on what is the internet today. And there we go. Well, what? Yeah, it didn't come through. I get Mike sending these sats, so maybe I don't understand. Maybe I've got the fountain thing not figured out on how to send a name through, because it didn't come through. But I did a test on mine, and it.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Yeah. Very, very weird. Okay.
But I do think that the difference here in that kind of clouds the water a little bit on this topic is, and James's point when he talks about this is what stood out for him was the ability to subscribe and get it delivered, right?
Like I said, I was doing that before even.
Right. And that concept applies to a variety of different platforms in the past. There was, like I mentioned earlier, Replay Radio, a platform called Serenade, which I was involved in as well with my own radio show. And I was also involved in Sync and Go, which worked with Windows XP and Pocket PC devices. And then there was Replay Radio, which was basically recording live radio streams and converting them into MP3 files and then synchronizing them with like Windows Media Player that then could be transferred to a Pocket PC, or not Pocket PC, but like a regular MP3 player. That was going on back in the early 2000s. That was like 2001, 2002 timeframe. And to correct a little bit of stuff that I was putting out on Twitter, I went back and looked at my Wayback listing for the old radio show that I used to do, and I claimed that I was putting out downloadable MP3s back in 1999. That's not actually factually correct. After I went and looked, I was actually doing that in 2001. But what I was doing in 99 is I was linking to Windows Media and real audio streams back then, because that was the most common method that people were delivering multimedia files over the internet, was off of streams. Because part of this whole discussion, around this concept is going back to really thinking about what the world was like back then. We were all using dial-up modems
Right.
back in those days, and so our internet connections were very slow. They were like 128K was the highest that you could ever possibly get to, and that's using a double modem.
Yeah.
And that wasn't always a perfect solution
I
either.
had
Right.
6 $1,000 56K US robotic modems that were on 6 phone lines that allowed people
Right.
to dial into my system
Right.
at
So-
56K.
56K. I was streaming my radio show online at 16 to 32K back in that time
Right.
frame. And you could put a link up to an MP3 file and it would download. I was using high compression back then. And that's what kind of led me into doing it in 2001 was I was thinking, well, a person just grabbed this file right off of the server with my website. I just put a little link to it and people could just click right and download it.
I
And
think I
that's what
was
people were
streaming. Well, not streaming. I think I made available even the early days when the podcast first came out in 2004. I think I put the podcast out at 24K. 24 or 30, I think 24K.
Yeah, it's about, I
think
was doing 16 and 20K at some point.
Yeah.
I know that the original podcast listening platform that I worked on, Melodio Mobilecast, this was back in 2005, was streaming podcasts to mobile phones back then. We downgraded the encoding on that down to 8K.
Wow.
So we took the MP3 files off of the RSS feed and then downscaled them and converted them into a media file format that could play on, let's say, a Razr or Motorola phone,
Right.
which was an MP3. They didn't support MP3 back then.
Because remember, in 2004, we didn't have an iPhone. We had nothing.
Yeah.
We had
This
the
is-
iPod and little. That's why I was able to get so many shows on my little 256K storage unit because the shows were
We're small.
You could only get 1 or 2 of these shows on one of these now because the files were so small.
Right.
And a show would be 8K, maybe 10, 12. That's the biggest the file would be.
Yep. So it was a completely different time back then.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think we were dripping content to our listeners. We weren't. It wasn't like a fire hose like
Right.
we have now, right?
So-
Of data,
So we've really buried this dead horse here,
we have.
and you can make Audible and everybody else. You guys make any claim you want, but until you tear my RSS feed through my dead hands, podcast technically are podcasts that are delivered via RSS.
So, what do you think that Adam Curry would say about this topic?
Yeah, he's just going to say they're just trying to rewrite the narrative.
Yeah.
And
Well, I'll have to
we don't
ask him on stage at Podcast Movement.
it's not even you know what? Let's be honest with you.
Let's just move
Who cares? Well, we don't have to be the purveyors of truth. In fact, but there's, let's
on. What
okay.
is truth in fact now, Todd? Does it even matter anymore?
Oh, so let's just technically, we know who is the first podcaster and the technical first podcaster, and then we know the non-technical make believe trying to impress other people that we were the first podcasters. It's
That could be the
it's
real
ego.
motivation here.
It's
right.
ego.
Yeah.
And yet what have they accomplished?
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
We can keep beating this horse
For a
till-
while.
right. And somehow I have a feeling because it's somewhat of a reoccurring.
Oh, we're going to hear
topic,
some more.
Right.
But
It's like,
I've
yeah.
set the standard 1991 or so with FidoNet. And if you need to see, I have a hard drive somewhere with that archive data. I have 10 years, 10 years of FidoNet traffic on a hard drive somewhere. So that tells you how limited, it was like 60,000 BBSs or something throughout the United States, throughout the world that was exchanging information, So, and all that 10 years of data fits on a single hard drive, a small one. Because it's all text, largely text. Well, I do have a couple hard drives of several million titles of shareware too. So if anybody's interested, who cares?
So Todd, just to let you know, I am building a different background behind me. I haven't got it fully constructed yet.
You
but
are.
It's coming.
Ah,
So
what did you
got
buy?
all the pieces on the floor.
Oh, what did you buy?
I've just bought some bookshelves and stuff
Oh,
that I
all
could
right.
build up behind me. And
Oh, nice.
create
Okay.
some more interesting kind of stuff behind me. Not that it's hugely important, but it's going to add some storage and things like that to my
Ah,
office. So
all right.
which is important.
You add some depth here.
Right. And yeah, hopefully it's attractive.
Hey, I do want to talk about one piece of software. Most of you don't care about this stuff, but I was turned on to something that is truly magic.
Mhm.
And thanks, Adam, for the info. Tailscale. It's a VPN.
Oh, yeah.
Remarkable.
If only they were a sponsor, Todd.
Oh, well, I'm going to tell you. I've gotten rid of the software that I was using to do remote connection to all my computers. Something I was paying for
Yeah.
with this. So if you're not familiar with Tailscale and you're a geek and you're looking for a VPN, this is pure voodoo magic.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, and it's for 20 machines interconnected. It's free.
Hey,
For
Todd, I
one
don't know if
user.
you wanted to
Go
move on to another topic.
Sure.
So I did put in the thumbnail kind of a topic of it's something that I've noticed, and you probably noticed it as well. Is if you go look at the podcast index,
Oh, I saw that today
tracking.
too.
tracking.
Yeah. Big changes.
I just wonder if we're seeing a fairly significant decline in active podcasts that are going on in the medium right now.
This is a big change. This
Yeah.
is big. What is going on?
Yep.
322,000 shows have produced, and so okay. Let me come back. Well, let's give a preface. I saw a tweet today from a very respectful lady that's in the space. Matter of fact, I think she's writing a piece for Brian Barletta's. I think I saw in her
Newsletter.
tweets that
Yeah,
she's writing a
sounds
piece for the
profitable.
newsletter, right? And
Mhm.
she also had in there how Spotify was claiming they had 4 million shows on Spotify. Okay.
Yep.
Let's go look at this. So total podcasting index 4,080,243 shows published in the last 10 days 103,195. Last 10
Yeah, but Todd, what's important to note here is just a few months ago that number was like 46 or 4.6 million.
Okay, so we'll have to ask Dave on what
Mhm.
he has done. But in the last 10 days, 215,857 active shows have published an episode. Last 30 days, 322,478, which was over 400,000 not too long ago.
Yep.
Last 60 days, 404,365,000 have produced an active episode. And the last 90 days, 470,499. Now, when
That's globally.
globally. Now, when I saw that number, I was kind of, I did a little, and I track what's happening at Blueberry.
I just wonder what's happening
I
to talk about it.
I'm not seeing a exodus of shows. I'm not seeing. We're still
Yeah.
seeing a steady number of shows coming in. Matter of fact, we're up a little bit.
That's what we're seeing too. So yeah.
So we're not seeing. I'm not declining revenue at all.
Mhm.
So, which means I'm keeping subscribers. I know what my burn rate is. I have a report that I can pull up with a refresh of a page, and I can see where my churn rate is right now. And I know what my churn rate is, and I'm not panicked. I'm not getting the number hasn't changed.
Yeah.
So what's going on?
I think it's an interesting question. I do think that the shows that have been around, which tend to host on your platform and our platform, have been around for a long time, and they are continuing to be around. There's a lot of new shows that are on other platforms, I suppose, that are a little bit more transitory, I guess. That might be the nice way of saying it.
I see all these types of claims out there. I saw a website today that claimed they had 72,000 active shows. I've never heard of the hosts before.
Well, it depends on how
And
they define what's active.
It's right, and they take and so I was kind of I'm like, can you do a database pull on this URL? I'm looking, because there was a curious number, and it is if this
Or is there more shows just getting published into exclusive environments and are not being a part of the bigger pool?
We already know that there's a decline in the number of shows that are coming from Anchor going into Apple, just because of the simple fact by default Anchor is shutting off you have to turn the RSS feed on manually.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm actually thinking that was a fantastic move on their part.
Well, yeah. From one perspective, yes.
Yes,
right.
That's from a podcast discovery, it was it was fantastic. But this is an interesting trend. I don't think I've seen numbers this low in a long time.
Yeah, it does feel like the lower half of that screen feels a little bit like where you went back to like I don't know, like 2016 or 2017, which I think is what those numbers were back then.
Mm-hmm. So, host submitted feeds last 30 days. Well, we can't submit because most of our stuff comes from individuals.com. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's an interesting number here.
I mean, is it a little bit of a bellwether for the economy that's happening? I don't know. I'm not as convinced that it is, but there is definitely a decline.
It's summer, number one. It's July. This is
that's true.
And typically, we haven't. I'll have to
take breaks and things like
I'll
that.
have to go look because, be honest with you, for probably the past 6 or 7 years, we've not seen the old dip of June, July, August. It's maybe a couple percentage points, but June, July, August for the past 6. It used to be it was a huge dip. I mean, it would come to June. I mean, the numbers would just like 10 or 15% drop, but the industry changed enough where that number through June, July, and August has been solid. So maybe I need to go back and pull. Here's what it could be another thing too. This is really the first summer that people are able to have a vacation in a long time.
Right. People are getting away.
And maybe content creators are taking time with their family and taking a break. So, but that's a big number. That would be right. Like a quarter drop on the 30-day number.
Yeah.
And on the 60-day number, no, on the 90-day number, that would be a fifth, because that was over 600,000.
Yeah, it was over 600, right?
Right. So a quarter on 30 is a fifth on 90.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, in your comment about when people are listening too has changed. I know back when I started doing online media, most of my consumption was on the weekends. Of course, that could be because that's when I published my
Right.
episode. But as far as more broadly, I saw across the industry, and this was like in the early 2000s to mid 2000s, there was a lot more consumption of multimedia content at home on the weekends. And that shifted when internet access was put into the workplace.
Yeah.
People are consuming stuff at work and on
What-
their commute now, and that's shifted the consumption patterns and made the weekends kind of a place of decline.
Here's something that's interesting. I have Geek News Central has been pretty lock solid for a long time in its numbers on where it stays steady. A very, very minimal growth. But I have seen over the last 30 to 45 days an appreciable bump. So I'm wondering if there's less shows doing shows, are there people looking for content?
I think there's more audience. I think the curve has shifted to audience growth across fewer shows, I think is what's happening.
So if people are taking a break, then those audience members, but I didn't really attribute it to this, but now that I look at this, I go, I wonder if that's,
I don't know that it's a good trend line, to be honest with you.
it's a little concerning.
Yeah, because you start thinking about, audience growth is always great, right?
Mhm.
We're all about that. But if we're seeing a significant decline in content creators in combination with audience growth, there's something else going on, definitely.
Well,
Because it should ride, if you look at the history of the medium, it's rode along pretty evenly with the growth of audience, right? Content matches the audience. But once you start swinging one way or the other too much, there's something abnormal going on.
I will say too, and I'll say this carefully, within the last 60 days, I have heard more emails of shows that are on the cusp. Let's just say they're north of 1,000 listeners per episode, but they're south of 10,000. They're on the cusp of frustration in that they haven't been able to monetize very well. And we know that's a lifetime story we've talked about on this show, but I keep telling our customers, we can stand by, help is coming because we've got something for you, directly. But I wonder if this is a driving factor.
I would say it's the second most popular question that I get from podcasters is, how do I make money from my show, right? And the number one question is, how do I grow audience? So those two kind of ride along together, right? If you can't grow your audience for whatever reason, then you're less likely to be able to make money from it.
And this goes back to what we started talking about at the beginning of the show. We have to give content creators more opportunities to earn some revenue, no matter the venue.
Yeah, thus our earlier conversation about SATs,
Right.
There's a combination of an opportunity there to maybe bring some economic benefit to shows in combination with a rewards program of sorts, and to reward the listening platforms as well.
Yeah.
So, it creates a win-win, which the industry has needed for a long time.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So, but again, if Spotify said they have 4-point-something million, and it was like, I think she said 4.5 million shows on Spotify, then that's an indication that there is an incredible high number of shows that are on Spotify only.
Through Anchor.
Right. But yet, we well know the history over there, that there's probably north of 2 million dead shows. But again, there's not that many. I'm sure there's I wonder what this would be a great study. Someone that's got a script writer. Here's a challenge for you. Go and find all the podcasts on Spotify, index those, and then go index, do a match, and see how many of those are also on Apple Podcasts, and tell us what the delta is. You want a science project, that's a good one right there, because this would tell us how many of those Anchor creators did not know enough to turn on RSS to allow themselves to be distributed elsewhere. And maybe I'm completely off base. Maybe I have no idea. I'm just hypothesizing here a little bit.
Well, and I do also wonder, Todd, about the growth internationally of podcasting and whether or not those podcasts, or what we consider to be podcasts, coming out of other countries around the world, are getting picked up by this.
Well,
I don't know.
Let me go. I can do a quick. Let's see here. Where's Slack? I gotta load it. I don't have it loaded because I can do a little bit of just a quick thing based upon some stuff that I learned today. Let me go over here to this channel and go here and grab this. Okay. I don't want to show the company here in the chat. Don't need to give credit where credit isn't due. And let me see if I can find one of their shows. Success stories. Yeah, let me go find this one. Oh, this site is, horribly slow. All right, so now I've got a show name. Let me go load this up. And
because down below on the podcast index, it lists host submitted feeds in the last 30 days, and it only shows a little over 1,000.
Well, that's just
directly to them.
Okay, so I just did a search for a French podcast.
Got it.
And it is in the index.
It is.
Okay. It is. And let me load it up and let me make sure that it's coming from. Look at the RSS feed. Why, yes. Let me do a paste here. Apple V. Yep, it is in here. So this particular host that is a French podcast host, let me go look at another show. Let's see here. Let me just grab one down here. And these are ones that are being promoted on their website, so you would think that they would be. You'd think that they would be everywhere. So, okay, it's a very unique show name. Let me go look. That's one thing that's cool. You're not going to get a body double here. Let me go look. Yep, there it is. So, and I see Italian in here. What else? That's Dutch. Because it's a name it's not, wow. German. I'm just going, because the word is decathlon, and there's a whole bunch of shows by Decathlon. There's another one in French. There's one in Spanish. So it is picking up a large number of, and let me see where some of these are hosted at. That's another thing too, is the key is where, well, let me go and grab this one that's Spanish and see where it's hosted at. And let me grab the RSS feed. I'm going to paste it over here. Okay. That's interesting. I've never heard of that company before. So, yep, there. And that was a weirdo RSS feed. So,
They got it, huh?
I think they're doing a pretty good job on doing this index. So, but I don't know why the number went down. Maybe there was some deduplication. Even at Blueberry, we're getting ready to do some deduplication on our directory because we got dupes too. So,
yeah, and I think why there's this delta between the podcast index and what Apple reports is, number one, Apple doesn't report their catalog size very often, for one thing. So it's not being kept out there as an accurately day-to-day track number, but they've been showing 2.5 million.
I don't know,
but I'm not sure. I think I talked to Dave at the Podcast Index at one point about this, and And he told me that there's a lot of feeds that they pick up over the web that are never submitted to Apple.
I believe that.
Yeah. So that's the other end of the spectrum here is that the universe of podcasts is much larger than just what is seen in Apple.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think that there's still this number of 322,000 shows in the last 30 days that's a bit of a wowzer. You
That's
almost hope something's broke.
once a month publishing is what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're not going to grow audience very fast with once a month.
With
once a month.
with
publishing.
215,000 in the last 30 days. I mean, last 10 days. I think
10 days,
if-
which is weekly publishing.
right. So if I think about because I just had a spreadsheet, we had to do some mapping. If I'm thinking correctly, I think there's 30. Ted, don't beat me up. I think there's 37 or so categories over at Apple. I might be wrong. Let's see if I can find that doc, and I can tell you.
Sounds pretty close to being right.
But if
Yeah.
let's okay, and if I'm wrong, sorry, kill me. But that's just off the top of my head. But if you take if we look at that number and just break out our calculator, this is high school math here, right? So and here I am breaking out the calculator. Supposed to do this in my head, right? If we do 215,987 and divide that by approximately, let's say 37 categories, that means you're only competing against 5,837 shows per category. Think about what you're competing against on YouTube.
Yeah. And half of that's probably, only active once a week, right?
So but that's,
Or that is once a week, right?
well, let's take 404,000. So it's going to be about and divide that by 37 categories. And of course, some categories are weighted heavier than more.
yeah.
About 10,000 shows per category, but over a 30-day period, it's nothing. You think that's 10,000 shows I got to compete against. Go check YouTube.
Right. Yeah.
And if you're doing a show weekly,
Yeah. I just don't think that the competition is as much as people fear. out there.
No. And I think probably the real number for every 7 days is about 150,000.
I think it's what you do to grow community, what you do to grow audience,
Yeah, about
what you're doing
4,000.
in your content.
About
it's far more
4,000
important.
shows per category. So it's nothing to compete
Right.
against.
Right.
If you're doing everything that you're supposed to do.
Which isn't easy. Let's not
No, it's not.
gloss it over, but yeah, it's still, it's really like what it was back in, I think, 2017. So as far as the amount of competition out there.
Yeah. Well, we got a small listening audience today, but not too many people watching us live. So what say the rest of you when you are listening? We want to hear from you. It's Todd at bluebear.com or Rob G at Libsyn.com. You can send Rob an email or me and let us know what you think. What are you seeing? No hosting company is going to claim that their numbers are drooping. I will. If we see a drop, I'll say we're seeing a drop.
Well, I think it's safe to say that growth has been a little slower over the last 6 months.
But I'm in a unique position. We just reloaded our platform, so we got a bump from our previous numbers compared to where we were. So for us, we're seeing positive, more positive growth than what we were because we were a little bit flat for a while. So
how important do you think I think I know how you feel about it, but I mean, is having a website, I think, more important than ever now, do you think?
Yep. But it's not just the website, it's what you do with it.
Right. That's true.
Yeah, it's what you do with it. And I will.
Just like anything else, I guess.
am hesitant. I have a case study coming, so I'm hesitant to say what I have learned in recent months. And all I can really say is that I have moved some shows off of some platforms and applied our model to, and the Blueberry model is simple. Have your own website, have your own.com, control your own RSS feed. That's the model. And we're seeing what it means. Any show can be found by their show name. We'll throw that out the window. It's not, if you need just someone search for your name on Google, you're going to get it found. That's not, it's going to be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever. You're going to find the show name. That's trivial. Doesn't matter where you host. But if you have your own.com and you have good episode titles and good show notes, it's an appreciable, again, key is good titles, not John Smith interviewed John Smith about it. It's got to be something someone is searching for, a topic. And if you get that right, and I don't always get it right either, and you get that right and you get a good first paragraph, you're going to really see traffic from, and it's okay. So what are you going to see? So let's break this down. If you have a good search term, you're going to get 500 to 1,000 page loads on that page, and maybe over a 30-day period. A percentage of those people will subscribe to your podcast. A percentage, let's say 5%. But it's for every episode. Rinse, wash, repeat.
Right.
It's not you're going to see this big jump because of one episode. It don't work that way. It's when you got 25, 30, 45, 50 on the website and you're having 50 times 1,000 a month coming to the website. That's when you're building this traffic where percentage of the people will subscribe. But that's just one. Rob, you and I both know that's just one piece.
Right. That's just one path.
And that's just one, you still got to do social, you still got to do outreach, you still got to be part of the community, you still got to do these other things. It's just one thing.
Yeah, and more people are spending money buying ads.
Right. And that's fine too. That's another piece that you can do.
Right.
And if you're finding growth there, write your checks.
Yeah.
But I don't like to organically give up anything. So
yeah, I mean, if you can grow organically, that's even better.
Right. The New Media Show show notes are not great. Don't use the New Media Show's show notes as an example of a perfect show note writing. Okay, just I practice, and I'm not practicing what I preach with the New Media Show notes.
Well, we're an example of as low effort production as possible.
That's right. So don't use this show as an example of that. Now, if you want to come in and be a producer and you want to help us with the show notes, hey, just let me know. I'll give you a login to the blog, and you can knock yourself out.
Right. We're both very busy guys, so this show is done the way it's done, and it's not a perfect example for the industry.
It's not.
Yeah. But I would like to change that. I mean, I definitely would like the show to be more of a perfect example, but like you say, Todd, that takes a lot of work, and we totally recognize that.
Yeah.
And I think we have made some changes to move towards being a little bit more seen as, reflective of modern podcasting. But,
the last show I did on Geek News Central, the title of the show is Download the Fountain Podcast app. That's the title of the episode, backed up by a good paragraph of show notes. Yeah. Apps, the Apple Podcast is 1, play.google.com is number 2, fountain.fm is number 3, and my post for Geek News Central is number 4, player.fm is number 5. So at least in my search results, I'm right now number 4 if you Google download the Fountain Podcast app. Is that a perfect search term? Nope. But if I go to my stats, I can almost guarantee you that will start building some traffic. Because I say, give the Fountain Podcast app a try. Rich Podcast 2.0 features that allow you to support the show that you love. That's what Google picked up. So enough people are going to see that and are going to go, let me see what he has to say. So, you can do this experiment with your own show and make sure you use an incognito window, because if you don't use an incognito window, because you are on your own website, you are going to influence the search result in a regular window, tracking window. So use the incognito window in Google and look at your episode titles and see where they fall, or have a friend do it.
I think it's always good to do. It's always good to check your show and your name in Google.
Right.
It's a little bit of a vanity search, but it gives you an idea of where you can. And I would actually log out of Google when you do it.
Well, that's why you need to be in an incognito window. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. It's the same.
And it's still not perfect, because you're still using the same IP to an extent.
And each searcher is kind of going to see something different anyway.
A little bit.
You know? So that's the thing. But Todd, I did think it was interesting to see Joe Rogan wasn't the number one podcast in Spotify the other day.
According to Spotify.
According to Spotify.
So how? Yeah. So okay, I'm the PR dude at Spotify, right? All right, we got Joe booked out for ads.
Right.
His audience is doing great, but this show over here needs a little boost. And how do we get that show a little boost? Well, let's just make this show number one. Now, Joe, shh, be quiet.
Yeah.
But we need to boost the numbers on this show to make it look like it's bigger than it is.
Right.
So they can say whatever they want. They can say whoever. I'm being very see. I'm a curmudgeon today. It's one of those situations like, I don't believe anything anybody says that is promoting their show as number whatever, unless it's been independently verified.
Yeah, as James posted in the post about this, it says, see the number one for podcast feature below to see if it's still dethroning Rogan. So you can kind of see it's a little bit of a lead story, but it also points out to me a little bit of kind of like, would this be happening to Joe if he wasn't on Spotify on an exclusive deal?
No.
He would be able to, be the number one and be seen as the number one. But this is like, it's a way to pull the rug out from under Joe to some degree.
And it's also a way to, it goes back to the time when I gave Dave Jackson some advice. He was doing organization for a now defunct podcast conference. He was organizing the sessions.
New Media Expo.
Media Expo. And I told Dave, I said, and I actually told Cliff Razencraft this too, I think.
Yeah, because Cliff was actually doing it prior to Dave.
Yeah, right? So I think, and if I get my people screwed up again, I'm old. But here's what I told him. I said, everybody has an agenda. Yeah. Everybody has an agenda. You have to pick the people to speak that you feel are going to do the best job, but realize everyone has an agenda. I have an agenda. Rob Walsh has an agenda. Everyone in the space has an agenda. What is our agenda? Our agenda is...
I don't have an agenda, Todd.
No, your agenda is to bring podcasters to Libsyn.
Right,
my job is to bring podcasters to Blueberry. That is...
Well, my agenda is to build trust.
Okay. But you build trust and you want them to come to Libsyn. Right. So, okay. Yep. So it's all in the same thing.
It is.
But,
it can be. Yeah.
So I don't... If I get press releases all the time, and I look at them with my head half cocked. I go,
right.
What is the agenda? Are they selling me something? Or are they telling me something? And oftentimes I'll get a press release and it's just clear as day to me. They're trying to sell me something. They're trying to sell me a story instead of telling me there's a difference. So James has got to fill his newsletter. It's good fodder for James.
Don't eat me, James Cridland.
So, but none of us can verify any of this info. They can say whatever they want.
Right.
Rob, did you know the New Media Show was the #1 podcast show in the podcasting space? Did you know
about podcasting?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
I
Did you know that
actually
we got
didn't know that, but that's
52,000?
okay.
Do we know did you know we have 52,000 people we have 152,000 people that listen to the show? I can
That's right. I
say
think
whatever I
we're-
want.
We're #1 in the category.
That's
I
right.
think,
Number
right?
one. Absolutely. I don't even know we're not, there is no podcast
I
category.
don't even know if there is any.
There isn't, so,
Right.
so we can say whatever we want, but you have to be like, huh? Really?
Right.
So
I would like it to be the #1.
Yeah, we'd love it to
podcast
be.
in podcasting,
We would.
but we certainly been trying hard enough over the years. To some degree, we've been trying hard enough. Right.
no one's going to promote us because we talk too much. We talk about we're too honest. I don't think we'll ever get a
Yeah, I think we have
sponsorship.
a lot of stealthy listeners, is what it comes down to.
I know
Yeah.
we do. And you know who you are. Because
we actually know who you are. Yes.
of course, again, Blueberry fully is a GDPR compliant company, and we do not do any IP tracking. But
Right,
sometimes
right.
I'd sure love to run that against the database. but
Well, Todd, I see a lot
don't.
of the posts that I make on LinkedIn about podcasting, and I LinkedIn has a feature where you can see
Who followed it? Or
who actually liked it,
Oh.
who saw it, who commented
Right.
on it. It doesn't give names, but it says what's their job title,
Right.
what's the company they work for, like how many people from certain company X
Right.
reviewed this
reviewed
article.
it.
Right, exactly. And so you can kind of see how that
So we should
actually
start
works out there.
cross-posting this show on LinkedIn then.
Well, I would love to be streaming live on LinkedIn. So
one of
if
us
there's
has
some
to.
way to do that.
Well, you change your LinkedIn profile to creator. I can't do that.
I've already done it to mine.
Oh, then if you've done that to how did your LinkedIn experience change putting it to creator?
There's so much going on with LinkedIn. I don't know that I could say for sure.
Well, then you can apply to be a streamer. You can set up our stream over there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I will look into it and see what we can do, because I'd love to be over there more.
Yeah, that's no problem. We'll just add it to the Wowza box and put the credentials in, and
Yeah, because does it? So there is a setting in Wowza for LinkedIn.
all you got to I manually add it.
Oh, you can.
Yeah,
manually add it.
Yeah,
Okay.
any place that'll take it RTMP stream, I can just add it as part of the distro.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't used the Wowza platform, so I'm not that familiar
Yeah,
with it.
so
but-
just if you send me a screenshot of and then I've just probably asked you to cut and paste some stuff for me. I can tell you what we need. Basically, it's probably a stream ID and a stream URL. Probably that's the two
Okay.
things. Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, we're happy to go on LinkedIn. The only reason we're not on LinkedIn is I've been reluctant to change my profile to a creator profile.
Why is that?
Well, because I'm a company owner, so I'm trying to. I'm trying to stay on the pro side. I don't want to be on the creator side on LinkedIn.
Oh,
I don't know if there's what difference it makes. It's stupid that they make you claim you're a creator.
Well, they have a podcast network over there now, so they are moving towards doing more with podcasting. But
So, someone that knows anybody at LinkedIn, we'd love to know why what changes when you make yourself a creator on LinkedIn. What happens with your profile? How does the designation change?
well, Todd, I do know some folks over there. I'll invite them to come on the show and tell us.
Yeah, I'd love to know, because that's what I've been hesitant, and it's prompted me several times to do it,
Mhm.
but I've held back because I didn't know how it would change my profile.
Yeah, I'll invite the guys that run the podcast network over there.
And they can tell us. And then, we are happy to stream the show over there. Why not? And then we can see who's lurking over there.
Which is a lot, which I'm sure would be a lot. So, yeah, I think it'd be a good one for us to be over there.
So, if you're willing to come out of the closet and let us know that you listen to the show, we invite anyone that's, you want to be on the podcast and you work at a competing company or something, we're happy to entertain you to be as a guest.
Well, I have a guest for next Wednesday. Ariel Neistat's going to join us from Squadcast.
Oh, she was the one that was commenting on the. Okay, so I can't wait to have her on. By the way, those of you that got a little bit of Adam Curry last week from this show, that was me.
Bonus episode.
Well, for about the first 3 hours, I had the wrong audio file. It's been fixed, so it should have cleared out of everybody's cache pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. So my apologies. That was my mistake. I had an old file stuck in there, and somehow I clicked the wrong one. So operator error. But if it didn't update in your podcast app, then something's wrong because it should have cleared very, very quickly.
Yeah, it should be great to have her on, Ariel, because she's been doing a lot of cool stuff in the podcasting space over the last couple of years, and I think she's an emerging leader in the podcasting space. There's no question about it. So,
where does she? I think she's a writer, right? Where does she work at?
She works for Squadcast. She's their community manager. Plus, I believe that she runs a podcast collective kind of group as well. So yeah, I'll get all the deets on her for next week.
I'm pretty sure that's who I replied to on Twitter.
Plus, I think she's a board member of the Outlier Conference.
Yep.
Plus other stuff.
I'm being dumb here. I know Ariel very well. Mm-hmm. I'm just having a brain fart. So let me look here. Was it Ariel that made the? I'm going to go look at my tweets. Hang on. Tweets and replies. Come on, load. It was. No. The person I was responding to was Ashley Carmen.
Oh, she's the former reporter, Hot Pod, and she's been on this podcast before.
Again, horrible with names.
It's okay.
So
and she's now with Bloomberg.
Yep. So she was the one I was responding to on Twitter this morning about the 4.4 million podcasts on the platform.
Yeah, I invited her to join us at Podcast Movement, but she was leaving the day before, so she was leaving on Thursday. So,
that's too bad.
Couldn't join us.
She'd have been a good person to have on because I think I think we'd have had lots of great conversation with her. She seems to be. She's very insightful. Yeah.
So I definitely want to get more women involved in the stuff that we do here too. Yeah. So that's part of my goal too. There's definitely emerging leaders that are coming out of that.
Are we still have another person that we're trying to get on? Then
I think I've locked it at the group that I have currently. Okay. So, and I did put out a piece of artwork about that.
Okay.
So I don't know if you have that handy there, Todd.
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, yeah, I put it out on Twitter.
Oh, so. Okay. Well, I didn't. You just email it to me. So, who are our guests going to be at Podcast Movement? It's going to be
James Cridland,
Adam Curry,
and Tangia Renee. Yeah, her last name is Estrada.
Tell me,
she's the co-founder of the BIPOC podcast creators and a woman empowerment coach.
So, what's BIPOC?
I think it's. I don't want to slaughter it, but yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I don't remember right off the top of my head here. I believe it's a Black creators community.
Oh, okay. Right. Awesome.
Right.
All right. Very, very good. I think the thing too is that all these emerging people, we need to get as many male, female, we need to get as many of these emerging people on the show as we can.
Right.
I think it's important.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, I think that the medium is attracting and embracing more diversity and bringing on more creators. I mean, I think it's fantastic. It's only going to grow the medium overall, is to have creators from all of these different ethnic and racial groups getting involved. It's going to grow the audience as well. So, and I think we're actually seeing that happen. So it's not like it's a thing that is coming. I think it's actively happening.
Awesome. So if you have comments about today's show, it's very, very simple. All you got to do is drop us an email.
Mm-hmm.
You can do Todd at Blueberry without the E's, because we couldn't afford the E's. If you want to help us afford the E's, we'll take your $3 million contribution, blueberry.com. And we're at NMS Podcasts as this show's Twitter feed. Rob has kind of taken that over and is tweeting from it a lot more. So that's actively going on over there. I'm at Geek News. Rob?
I can be found on Twitter as well, at Rob Greenlee, and that's with 2 E's. E's were cheap for me, so I can definitely take advantage of that. And then I do have a website at robgreenlee.com. You can reach me on email as well, robg@libsyn.com, and happy to hear from you. And hope to see you at Podcast Movement. I've been trying to connect with as many people I can through the Podcast Movement app. I don't know if you have jumped on there and participated in the community and reached out to people, but it seems to be a pretty effective tool at finding people and connecting with them, and maybe setting up a time to meet up. That'd be great.
We're going to have a well, I can't tell you what we're going to have at Podcast Movement. That's a secret.
You can't.
No. I'm stepping the game up a little bit here.
Good for you.
Yeah,
good for you.
It'll be entertaining. I think you'll get a good laugh out of it.
And there's a lot of stuff going on at Podcast Movement around the Podcast Academy as well. I'm going to be working the booth a little bit at the Podcast Academy, at Podcast Movement, as well as the Libsyn booth, and then also doing some one-on-one meetings and things like that about the Podcast Academy as well. So
one of the sessions you're not going to want to miss, and it's definitely the Adam Curry and Dave Jones session on Podcast 2.0. So that's going on at the New Media at Podcast Movement. So definitely check their session out, and you'll be able to quiz Adam and Dave on a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about here already. If you're not coming to Podcast Movement, get the virtual ticket so that you can get access to all this content here.
Yeah, and we're doing a live on stage session like we had just talked about around the guest. That's actually on August 26th from 11:30 to 12:45. So we get a full hour and 15 minutes live on stage. And it's going to be streamed live, like we had mentioned as well. So if you're going to Podcast Movement, stick around till the last day of the event. I know there's a tendency in the industry for people to kind of get out of there after the first couple of days. And
last Friday's the funnest because we're all kind of letting our hair down and relaxing.
And that's what I tell everybody when they say, well, I'm jetting out of here early. I go, well, you're kind of missing out on some of the best networking opportunities, which is towards the tail end of the event.
That's right.
So, yeah.
Okay, everybody, thanks for being here. Go over to newmediashow.com, follow or subscribe to the podcast, please, if you haven't already. And drop us a boost if you want to. Let me make sure we didn't get any boosts before we get out of here. Yep, Mike Dell, your boost came through. It's how now. It's working great. So thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time here on the New Me Show. Take care. We'll see you next time.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.